I miss the angry rants. Does he love everything about Japan now? Oh, I'm sorry. Chris is too happy and nice now. If you want a rant, you get a rant. This is going to be the angriest video I've ever made. Truth is, though, I like Japan a lot, and I'm still discovering things about the culture. Case in point, just yesterday, I discovered a Japanese hip-hop band called Creepy Nuts. Yeah, Creepy Nuts. And to be honest, that's one of the better Japanese English band names. Creepy Nuts are up there alongside other bands, including Mrs. Wiener, Asparagus, Rhythmic Toy World, yeah, and of course, Knockout Monkey, which sounds less like a rock band and more like a great way of getting kicked out of London Zoo. Anyway, I didn't come here to reel off questionable band names, even though I definitely should. That could be a great video. I came here to be angry, very angry indeed. So, here's 12 things I hate about Japan and why I hate them. Some of them potentially controversial, but feel free to keep a running score out of 12 and see if you're as twisted and as bitter as I am. So for my first 3 years living in Japan, I lived in a pretty rural place. And out in the Japanese countryside, there's basically 3 things you can do. Number 1 is play Pachinko, Japan's most popular game, and one so horrific it'll absolutely be appearing on this list later on. Number 2 was go to a Hostess club or snack bar. And number 3 was look at a rice field. Now, my preference was to always do number 3. But unfortunately, every week, a work colleague or a friend would drag me kicking and screaming to a Hostess club where, over the course of a single evening, I would eradicate my entire paycheck. Now, if you don't know what a Hostess club, or Karaoke as it's known in Japanese, is, it's basically a bar where you come in, sit down, sit amongst some girls who pour your drinks, light your cigarettes, flirt with you and massage your fragile ego. And it's a genius idea in many ways because every single guy that walks in through that door and blows a few $100 can delude themselves into thinking that they are popular. The moment you walk in and sit down, the girl always asks if they can drink too, if they can join you, and naturally you have to say yes, so you end up paying for their drink and yours at the same time. And from that point on, their only role is to keep you there as long as possible, plying you with alcohol and turning your wallet into a supermassive black hole. In many ways, it kind of sounds exciting, right? And the first few times it is, you know, flirting with someone, singing karaoke, having a drink, being plied with alcohol. It's fun, and you're kind of made to feel special. And even when you leave the venue, it still carries on. The illusion continues because they'll take your phone number and message you throughout the day asking, oh, you know, when are you coming back? Let's carry on. And this is all well and good until you realise you're paying hundreds of dollars for a date that can never ever lead anywhere. You could almost recreate the same experience sitting alone in a room, drinking a bottle of vodka and burning a small pile of money. In fact, that would probably be better. Once you've been to a Hostess club 10 times and had the same conversations, you basically realise it's like a very expensive version of Groundhog Day. The only upside is, even though your bank balance is gone, you do get some complimentary nuts and snacks. No creepy nuts though, unfortunately. I'll have that one. 10-second rule. Ugh. Worse still, you're doing this while surrounded by other drunken customers having their cash shoveled from their wallets like coal being stuffed into a fucking furnace. And to keep the customers there longer, they basically force you into doing karaoke in front of everyone, which leads me to point number 2 on my list of things I hate in Japan. Oh yeah, kanpai, yeah. Fucking. Yeah, cheap whiskey as well. It's a curious thing. Oh, just as you think a Hostess club can't get any worse, they hand out the microphone to the drunk guy, and under a mixture of alcohol and peer pressure, he butchers your favourite 80s song. And they always pick the same fucking artist. It's always Taylor Swift, Bon Jovi, Disney songs being massacred over and over. The one person that can sing, voice of an angel, never gets anywhere near the microphone. The only thing that helps is the Nomi Hodai, all you can drink menu. But the food isn't up to scratch, unfortunately. Avoid the food at a karaoke booth. And there comes a point in the evening where you wish both music and ears had never been invented, when you finally crack and you seize the microphone and take your moment. Don't take money, don't take pain, don't need no credit card to ride this train. Oh God, the only problem with karaoke is too much all you can drink. But you've got to do it, you've got to drink to get through it. Fortunately, Japanese toilets, though, are the best in the world. I love walking in and being greeted by a toilet opening up as if it desperately wants my custom. The seats are heated, and when you sit down on it, it plays music, like Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. It's fucking amazing. It's a game changer. But there is one thing about Japanese toilets that I hate, and that is this. Some people live and die by these damn things, but to any reasonable person, using a bidet can only feel like an invasive surgical procedure using a fucking super soaker. When I sit down on a toilet, I don't want it to be a 4D experience, right? And once you've had one unexpectedly hit you automatically at full pressure with scalding hot water, you'll hate the damn things just as much as I do. Truthfully, the only thing I hate more than these damn things are the people that rave about them so relentlessly, as if they're the second coming of Christ. I'm not gonna name any names right now, but feeling rather peckish now. Unfortunately, the next thing on our list involves food, and for this one, we're going undercover. Ooh. Mic test, 1, 2, 3. Audio good, camera good, okay. This is tough. We're about to go in somewhere I've actively dreaded for a long time. It's somewhere I don't go often, it's somewhere no one deserves to go. We're about to go inside Japan's blandest burger restaurant. Wish me luck. Here we are, the Tobikiri cheeseburger. A burger with a sort of sloppy, cheesy, oniony mess, rather anemic patty. The bread's not too bad. I think my problem with Mos Burger is that sort of overhyped nature. People always say, oh my god, Mos Burger, it's like this amazing, it's Japan's native burger brand, it's amazing. It's not. Just because Japan has its own burger brand doesn't mean it's good, right? Everyone comes to Mos Burger, the first time they're like, oh my god, it comes in a basket. It's the best thing to come out of a basket since Moses. And yes, look at this, cardboard chips. Look at this sloppy, messy burger in here, right? Instead of using a cheese slice, they use like a pasty sauce that you'd use to put wallpaper on your fucking bedroom wall. Unbelievable. I'm gonna really struggle to eat these. Numerous of the times that I've been driving in Japan in the middle of nowhere, I would literally eat anything, and the only thing I see is a Mos Burger, and I think, oh, I'll carry on another 40 kilometers, I'll hedge my bets. It's not to say Japan can't do good burgers, they can. Freshness Burger, a far better chain. If I was trying to say something good about Mos Burger, today I discovered the name, Mos, right? It means mountains, ocean and sea. And it's supposed to be about embracing life. But why couldn't they embrace a better patty that doesn't look this anemic? Look at the colour, look at that colour. Doesn't look like a burger. It was the first time I've had a Mos Burger in 2 years, and I'm someone who eats out every day. So that's telling you something. At a push, they've got a nice interior, and the staff are always nice, so tick there. I don't want to eat any of this, but I'm going to, out of respect for food. But I'm not coming here again. Take my business to Freshness Burger, so should you. Mountain, ocean, and sea. Well, like mountain, ocean, and Given Japan is the country that gave us wonders such as Nintendo, Sega, PlayStation, you might think, well, the biggest game, maybe it's one of those. Maybe it's arcade games or crane game machines. But no, Japan's biggest game is none of these things. It involves ball bearings going round in a circle through a machine, and it is called Pachinko. Not only do I despise Pachinko, but I have the biggest video about Pachinko on the entire YouTube platform with 10 million views. And despite that, despite making a video on the subject and going there and watching Natsuki win us various prizes, not only do I still not really understand the game, I absolutely don't understand the motivation behind people playing it. And yet, 1 in 10 people in Japan play Pachinko, and it's worth $200 billion to the Japanese economy. For many, it's not so much a recreational activity as a gambling addiction, right? It is gambling. Even though gambling in Japan is technically banned, it's not allowed, they have found ways around it. So when you go into Pachinko, you win your ball bearings, you get your literal crate of ball bearings, take them to a person who turns it into a coupon, you take the coupon, you go to a building that's quite literally round the back of the Pachinko parlour, and someone there will buy your ticket for money, and off you go with your winnings. The only problem, of course, is as it's gambling, people are losing their money. The only real winner are the Pachinko parlours. Now you might be wondering, why do I hate it? What is it about Pachinko that I despise so much? And there's two things really. Number one, when you're out in the countryside, you'll be driving through a decrepit town, everything looks run down. Unfortunately, population dropping in rural areas around the country. And all of a sudden you'll see like a beam of light, this sort of big building, shining, glimmering like a ray of hope in this decrepit town. And then you'll get closer and you'll think, is it a shopping mall? Is it some sort of great business? No, it's a pachinko parlour, filled with cars, filled with people, blowing their salary, wasting their time. It's usually, unfortunately, the brightest spot in many towns that you'll find around in rural Japan. And I used to find that so depressing when I was out there driving around. I'd see these buildings, I'd think, wow, that must be something good. And then I'd discover it was a pachinko parlour and people were wasting their time, blowing their money. And it's wasting time that's the second thing I hate about pachinko, right? I've watched people play pachinko, right? You can see it in the video. Natsuki sitting there, he twists this little handle, the balls get launched around, they go in a circle, and somehow he wins every now and then. There's really not that much to it. It is, for lack of a better phrase, phenomenally fucking boring. And I've met people that have blown their entire salary on it and lost so much of their time, right? There is a real sinister side to it, as there is with any gambling. But for being the most boring game in Japan and for exploiting people out there in those rural areas, people that aren't that well off, hopefully most people will agree that my decision to put Pachinko on this list was completely and utterly justified. Picture the scene, you're wandering through Tokyo, wind in your hair, on your way to the Creepy Nuts concert. All of a sudden you hear a loud noise. Round the corner comes a Mario Kart crazed maniac at the wheel, ruining the atmosphere and hopefully not mounting the pavement and crashing into a fish and chip shop, as happened several years ago. But no, this isn't Mario Kart, this is Go Karting in Tokyo. Now it used to be called Mari Car, which didn't go down very well with Nintendo, as you can imagine, given the reference to Mario. Especially given that someone did, in the go-kart, mount the curb and crash into a fish and chip shop. Not just any fish and chip shop, my favourite one, Malin's in Roppongi. Not only that, but there was another crash the year before as well. Understandably, Nintendo weren't happy. They did sue the company for 50 million yen, which is quite a lot of money, about $500,000, and the company went under. But go-karting is back, and it's no longer called Marikart for legal reasons, but there's a company called Street Kart with a very good disclaimer saying there's nothing to do with Nintendo here this time, and they're wisely not selling this as a Mario Kart kind of experience as they were before. Now, why am I against this? What do I hate so much about go-karts? Well, first off, I have nothing against go-karts. I like Mario Kart, I like go-karts. What I don't like is foreign tourists coming over jet-lagged into Tokyo, getting behind the wheel of a go-kart and driving through the biggest city on earth. Now, driving through Tokyo is not fun. It's very scary, even in a car, let alone in a go-kart. Of course things are going to go wrong. And if you ask most people, most local Japanese people, they hate this idea of foreign tourists driving around on a go-kart, causing chaos. They're very loud, they're very annoying. I just don't think it's a good idea to let people drive around on go-karts in Tokyo. And as we've seen with the crash into the fish and chip shop, you know, probably a good reason why. I mean, maybe I'm just biased because I was sad that the fish and chip shop got hit. That'll do it. If it had been a hamburger restaurant, I wouldn't have cared. But now it's personal. Now it's very personal indeed. Often the only people you see riding the go-karts are foreign tourists, and actually it propagates this sort of bad image that foreign tourists equals bad. And I think that is part of the reason I hate it, and many foreign residents in Japan do as well as a result. If you come to Tokyo, don't use them. Get some bicycles, go-kart in the countryside. Call me Mr. Boring, shit, rubbish, fun-killing dickhead guy, but I stand by this. I hate Mario Kart in real life, and you should too. God, I love cameras. Even old-school Polaroid cameras. Pretty damn cool. And it kind of helps doing this right, to have a love of the very thing you use every day to make videos. And yet there's something in Japan, something truly unspeakable that makes me wish cameras had never been invented. Now, you might be thinking, well, look, Purikura is clearly not aimed at you, a grumpy 32-year-old man, and you'd be right about that. But the thing is, I don't really understand why anyone likes Purikura. The act of taking your face and making it look like an alien trying to transform into a human sort of gave up along the way and did this. Purikura literally means Printokrabu, print club. and sounds harmless enough. But when it came out in 1995, it was basically the front runner to the modern day filter. You'd go inside a booth, take some photos, process them looking a bit weird, edit them, print them out and have fun. And back in the 90s, I could kind of see the appeal of that with photo manipulation. Today, it's very outdated. I don't get why it's popular anymore. Look at this. I had to go down to the arcade and demean myself for this stupid photo. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, maybe burn it later. I don't see the appeal. I hate Purikura. I don't know why it's still a thing. Please don't take me there if you ever meet me in person. And that is the end of this section. Stupid Purikura shit. Should have stayed in the 90s. I've often said in videos that it feels like there's a barrier between you and Japanese people, right, living here. And in many ways, that is because of the phrases they use in everyday life. And here's 5 phrases you hear every single day, without fail, if you have small talk with someone. Number 1, can you use chopsticks? Yes, of course I can use fucking chopsticks. Jesus, not again. Number 2, your Japanese is good. Nihongo jozu, which has become a meme unto itself. Number 3, can you eat Japanese food? Can you do it? Can you eat it? Can you eat the bowl of ramen? Yes, I can eat the ramen. I can eat all the ramen, just can't eat natto. Number 4, when are you leaving Japan? When are you going home? And number 5, in Japan, we have 4 seasons. Yes, we have 4 seasons in the UK as well. There might be rain in every single season, literally every day, but there's still 4 seasons in the UK. Japan isn't special. Now, when you come here early on, it's really not a problem. People saying, oh, can you use chopsticks? Wow, your Japanese is good. You feel good about yourself. Like, yeah, my Japanese is good, even though it's shit. It's good, you feel great. And then, after 6 months, or a year, or 3 years, or 10 years, when people are still saying the same fucking sentences in every small talk, in every conversation, it'll really piss you off. And if you speak to any foreigner who's lived in Japan over a year or 2, who's endured this and had these sort of same conversations over and over, you'll find that these microaggressions, these phrases, are one of the greatest sources of frustration. One of the most important things with microaggressions, though, is the speaker isn't actually trying to piss you off. It's just a bit of unconscious bias they have. It's not like they're inherently trying to piss you off in everyday life. For those of us living here, it can be very, very annoying indeed. It would be like a Japanese person coming to London and being like, wow, do you want chopsticks every dinner? Do you want to eat your fish and chips with chopsticks? Is that okay? Do you want chopstick? It would be a bit like that, but maybe not as extreme and in your face. But going back to the Hostess Club earlier, that small talk, that boring, menial talk, that is the sort of conversation it would be. Why are you here? Can you use chopsticks? Nihongo jozu. We have 4 seasons. Yes, I know. I've had that conversation. Very frustrating. Everyone who's lived in Japan will hopefully back me up there. But it's not going anywhere anytime soon. And what it means is, in my case, I try and avoid small talk altogether. I just sort of go, hey, yeah, I'm going over here now. And it's led me to be really just not good at small talk in Japan. And whilst for me it's only a daily annoyance, for people who are actually born and raised in Japan but don't necessarily look Japanese, for example, a Japanese national who is raised by 2 American parents, it can make life very difficult for them, right? When people are constantly like, wow, Nihongo jozu, you can speak Japanese. Like, yes, I've lived here my whole life. I'm fluent, I am Japanese, I just don't look it. So if I ever had kids in Japan, I don't think I'd put them into a Japanese school for that reason. They would constantly feel like an outsider. Microaggressions, not so much aggression as a fucking annoyance, and one of the things I hate about living in Japan. I'll never forget the first time I arrived in Tokyo. I drove down a highway and this was the first building I saw, the iconic Tokyo Tower. It stood here since 1958, overshadowing the Zojoji Temple down below. And my first memories of Tokyo altogether are just these incredibly unique buildings, like the Nakagin Capsule Tower or the Fuji Telebi building over in Odaiba. Now, something's been going on over the last decade, something unspeakably disappointing, and that is Tokyo's skyline is starting to all look the same. Go to Marunouchi over by Tokyo Station, all shiny new glass skyscrapers that could be copied and pasted from any other place on Earth. Then you've got behind me, in Azabu-Juban, all just boring generic skyscrapers, except maybe that green one over there, which looks like a Lego block building. I like that one. All culminating in the tallest skyscraper in all of Tokyo and Japan, just over here. It actually dwarfs Tokyo Tower, which I never thought would happen in my lifetime. And with that in mind, the next thing on my list is I hate modern Japanese architecture. Now you might be thinking, well, you're just bitter, Chris. You're bitter because they tore down your beloved Nakagin Capsule Tower. And they did. Last year we went in, had a look around at this iconic building. This year, it's finally gone. They dismantled the capsules, and where once stood the iconic Nakagin Capsule Tower is now just a hole of nothing, soon to be filled with another generic apartment building, like the many ones that surround it now. And while I get that Tokyo's always about modernising, changing, adapting, the dichotomy between old and new, I think if you're going to tear down an amazing building, replace it with something good. Don't just build another boring building. And that's been the case with places like Harajuku Station. Harajuku Station has an iconic design built in the Meiji era, and it was never fun going through Harajuku Station. It was always an absolute shit show. It was small, it was crowded, it wasn't fun. So they replaced it and built a brand new building. And yet, it's just another shiny, glass, boring building that could be any station in Japan. Utilitarian, characterless, and boring. I don't understand why they didn't think, well, why don't we borrow something from that old design? Why don't we take something and make something new? No, let's just build a brand new train station that could have been in any other place in Japan. And I worry we're going to see more of these dreary glass buildings going up, making Tokyo's skyline look like it could be anywhere else on Earth. And look, I get it, you know, architecture is completely subjective. I understand that many people didn't like the Nakagin Castle Tower, they thought it was hideous. But I think we can all agree that to destroy and demolish a building that was iconic, original, different, and then replace it with just nothing, just another boring copy-paste building, that is a tragedy. And I worry that a lot of Tokyo's skyline is going to look like that in the not-too-distant future. I mean, it already is right now. That is why I hate modern Japanese architecture in cities, and I think it's a real shame. Sad, isn't it? Yeah. Put your hands up if you like train stations. Yes! Oh my god, I love a train. I'm going to knock this set down. Excellent. Now put your hands up if you like bentos. Yes! Oh my god, I like food in a box. What are we waiting for? Ekiben, train station bento. Put it together. What do you get? Disappointment. On a scale of 1 to overrated thing, Ekiben are just everywhere. People rant and rave about how much they love the damn things, and I'm not going to deny there are some good Ekiben. I ride the bullet train once every week, twice a week, and I get an Ekiben every time. And there are some fantastic options with sushi, tempura, tonkatsu, excitement. I love it. But for every good Ekiben, there are 3 very bad Ekibens, where the rice is like excavating a bit of gravel out of a box, where the food is cold and dry and shit. And even though Connor and I disagree on pretty much everything, the one thing we agree on is that Ekiben are overrated and we hate them. And that is almost certainly because once upon a time, we were in a rush to get a bullet train from Okayama to Tokyo. And often when you're running through a Japanese train station, it's chaotic, it's rushed, you've got to get the train, you pick up the first bento you see, and we picked up, I think, this beef Wagyu bento. It was like beef, it was very expensive, 2,000 yen a box. And we needed that bento. It's a 4-hour train ride. We needed some good food. And we cracked the bentos open on the train, distraught, hungry, fed up, put the chopsticks in, and they got stuck in the fucking rice because the rice was so cold and hard and horrible. We took a bite of the beef and it was stringy and tough. And for that price point, 2,000 yen, when you're on a train for 4 hours with no other food at your disposal, we were very angry. And we swore that day never to sing the praises of Ekiben ever again. In the 18th century, the British aristocrat, the Earl of Sandwich, came up with a groundbreaking idea. Place some salted beef between 2 slices of toasted bread, and all of a sudden you have a delicious dish in a convenient form factor. The sandwich was born, British engineering at its finest. And today, in America alone, 300 million sandwiches are consumed every single day. An astonishing figure given the American population is 331 million people. Simply put, Britain branded it, America ate it, and Japan completely and utterly fucked it. What is this fruit sandwich atrocity? Who does this? Who does this to a sandwich? Strawberries and cream in some bread? Why? Why? I not only hate fruit sandwiches, I hate what they've become. People associate the fruit sandwich with Japanese culture, as if it's a unique creation to be proud of. There's a reason we don't do this outside of Japan, because it tastes awful. Sandwiches should be savoury, they shouldn't taste and look like this. The only thing in Japan's defence is the sandwiches that aren't riddled with strawberries, oranges and cream are actually pretty damn good. Egg sandwiches, perfection. Pork cutlet, count me in. Ham and cheese, not so much. They use cheap cuts of ham. It doesn't work. But fruit sandwiches, look at this sloppy, creamy mess. Honestly, the cruel irony is there's no food in the studio today, and I haven't eaten lunch, so I'm gonna have to eat it. But suffice to say, I hate it, and the Earl of Sandwich is turning in his grave. All right, this one's not that bad because it's more cream than sandwich. Look at it. Honestly, God. Not bad. It's pretty good. The last thing on this list is an amalgamation of all 11 points we've seen and heard until now, all presented into one convenient format that I call Japanese television. I remember before I went on Japanese TV, it was something I always wanted to do. You know, it was kind of like the dream. And many foreigners have it. They're like, oh yeah, my dream. Go to Japan, be on TV, have fun. I went on TV maybe 3 or 4 times, and each and every time was absolutely shit. Whether it was asking me to hold a camera in my hand in every shot to prove that I was a YouTuber.
Are you a YouTuber?
I am. Or whether it was propagating the myth that foreigners spread the virus more because they announced the P sound, as you might remember. Kore wa pen desu, this is a pen. This was an actual thing on Japanese TV and it still blows my mind. But I've made a whole video on why I hate Japanese TV, and to talk about it here would be to do it a disservice. Go and check out the whole video, and I think I explain myself rather well. One of the most frustrating things on this list I talked about today was microaggressions, and I feel like Japanese TV propagates it more than anything else. They make foreigners seem like these exotic beings from another dimension. And I think that mindset has sort of permeated the culture. And I think Japanese TV is responsible for that. But anyway, go and check out the video, Why I Hate Japanese TV. I explain things a bit more succinctly over there. And before I go, I have to say, while it's easy to pinpoint 12 things I hate about Japan, I could quite easily reel off a list of 1,000 things that I love about Japan. Just because I've been critical of these 12 things, just because I've had opinions, it doesn't overrule the fact that I love Japan. I love living here, the people, the culture, the food. It is a fantastic country and I feel very lucky to be here. And I look forward to the folks who are like, oh my God, if you don't like it, just leave. I can't wait for that to happen, because it always does. And it's part of the fun of doing YouTube. But for now, guys, as always, many thanks for watching Abroad in Japan. If there's something on this list that I've missed or something you feel strongly about that you don't particularly like about Japanese culture, let me know in the comments below. And what was your score out of 12? How many of these points do you agree with me on? As for me though, I'm off to see Rhythmic Toy World. I'll see you later. That's Rhythmic Toy World, the band, not the shop. Ugh. The power of love is a curious thing. Make a one man weep, make another man sing. Change your heart to a little white dove. More than a feeling, that's the power of love. Tougher than diamonds, bricks like cream. Stronger and harder than a bad girl's dream. Make a bad one good, make a wrong one right. Power of love keeps you home at night. You don't need money, you don't take fame. Don't need those credit cards to ride my train. It's strong. There you go. How's that?